welcome back to my channel. I want to say a huge thank you for your support and following along my journey on YouTube. So in today's video, I wanted to talk about some top questions I've been getting from you around my UX journey, about interview tips, and overall UX career path. I hope you will enjoy the video. And before I start, just a quick reminder, I share everything about UX from interview tips, portfolio reviews, and design crits on my YouTube channel. So if you are interested on this type of content, please feel free to hit the subscribe so you won't miss any of my future content. So I have my most recent favorite drink, hot chocolate from grad. It's so good and it's helped me feel I'm getting to the holiday mood slowly while work is still kind of busy and finally wrapping up. I hope you will have the time to take some break to enjoy this holiday time with your friends or families. So let's see what are some questions we're getting. All right, first one. I'm a recent UX program graduate and I've been applying for over 50 jobs over the past 2 months and have not found a job yet. Do you have any tips for what I can do in the meantime while I apply for jobs? Should I find a part-time job somewhere or to earn money, or should I create my own UX project? First of all, I think it's kind of a twofold question. One, it sounds like the question is more around where and how can I gain project experience? And I think this is a question that I've been hearing a lot, and especially for folks who want to get into the field of UX, this is probably one of the biggest challenge. And I think there are a couple of ways you can approach it. One, you can absolutely create something on your own, like doing a self-paced case study. It can be an app or a website or any digital product that you feel personally passionate about or you use very often. And you can create a self-paced case study from conducting some research interviews to solve some of the existing pain points by redesign part of the journey. And so self-paced case study has its pros and cons for sure. The pro is definitely you have the own control, so it doesn't have much dependencies on others. So it's up to you how you want to drive the pace. The con, given its nature, is also because it's a self-paced case study, it's not a real project experience, often considered when you go to interviews. The value of a self-paced case study can be perceived not as equal weight versus a real project experience, which is why I think another channel I would really encourage you to think about is doing any freelancing contract work. As long as you can get into real project experience, working with startup, working with friends, families, spread the words and be creative and proactive in creating opportunities for yourself. In my case, when I looked to transition into UX from the lighting architecture background, my very first UX job was actually introduced from a friend's who was looking to build a business website for their company. Spread the word and let people around you know that you are open and interested in any opportunities in helping building digital product. And you never know where it's going to come up. And also there are websites like Upworks and there are other websites for like looking for a short-term contract-based design job. And that's also another way I think you can create some actually real project experience in a relative quick, short time frame. And the third, I think, is to take advantage of those events. And you can look around, and there are a lot of usually UX workshop or hackathons happening around. A lot of time these days they are hosted virtually, but you can still get a good hands-on project experience by working with a group of people together. I think that's another way to get connected and involved, be able to build some real project experience together. And I think overall, this is probably how the first part of the question, how to gain project experience. The other side, I think, this question mentioned this designer has already applied over 50 jobs and over the past 2 months and I haven't found a job yet. And I can't stop myself thinking, okay, I really wanted to ask you, what's your job search strategy? Because I think our job searching is a really intense process that can really mess up with your mood, and especially if you're keep sending online applications and don't get any feedback, or all you get is auto rejections. It's very easy to fall into the trap of like start doubting yourself, like, what am I doing wrong? Is my portfolio not good, or is there something wrong with my resume? So I think highly recommend you to watch this video. I have talked about 5 tips for UX job searching, and where I shared some tips on what I learned and about how to pull yourself through a rough UX job search process and make it the most effective. It takes some strategy, and rather than just sending out your applications online. So feel free to check it out. There are definitely strategic approach you can take to improve the ROI of your job search. Okay, let's take a look at the next question. Do you have any tips to create UX case study for a hypothetical project as a junior UX designer? Yes, for sure. And this is actually also something I have created a video called How to Create a UX Case Study, where I actually shared one of my first UX case study, House mobile app, redesign of the mobile app, which actually turned into a awesome project experience on my portfolio that helped me land my very first UX job in the Silicon Valley. So feel free to check out this video where I did a very detailed step-by-step walkthrough how I put this case study together. So hope that will be helpful. Next, let's see. For virtual onsite, do you have to do well in every round to get a final offer? If I didn't do well in one round, does it mean I will fail for sure? Well, first of all, that's a great question. The answer, I think, it really depends. Because every company has their own interviewing process and structure. If we're talking about interviewing with Google as example, I think the interview process is really pretty mature and very 360-degree, well structured. So you will actually be evaluated from many different angles by different interviewers. And everyone you meet at the interview, from one-on-one chat, whiteboard, final onsite, everyone will provide ratings with very detailed feedback. So if you don't think you did super well in one round, it doesn't necessarily mean you lose the chance completely, because I think you might outperform in other rounds. And the evaluation is usually not a yes/no type of answer, but it's based on a very comprehensive rating system. So, and it will be done at the end of the interview. So long story short, I don't think if you didn't do well in one round, it will means you will fail for sure. But on the other hand, I think I would recommend you to focus on the process. Just do your best rather than overthinking about the result, because usually when it gets to bigger companies or more mature tech companies, the interviewing process is often pretty well thought through, and you will often be evaluated from a very systematic view. So next question, let's see what we have. How to find out reasons and feedbacks when I fail my interview. First of all, I think of course, you can feel free to follow up with the recruiter or the hiring manager if you feel comfortable with, and just ask. It's never hurt to ask. You might not get the answer you want, but doesn't hurt to ask. Hey, I really enjoyed interviewing with you, and would you mind share with me a bit more about what I can do better, or share with me some feedback so it can help me improve and do better in future. But on the other hand, I also want to remind you, to be honest, I think being involved a lot in the hiring side in the past few years, I think you might get some valid answer in terms of why you didn't get an offer, but a lot of the case, you probably will never know the real reasons. It's just the reality. Quite often there are a lot of dynamics going on the hiring side, and the information is just, unfortunately, it's never going to be equal on the interviewee and the interviewer side, because the hiring end, there are a lot of floating factors. Sometimes they might already be in the final stage of like signing offer with the final candidate, but they might still want to keep interviewing until the deal is sealed. So getting a no does not necessarily mean you didn't do well or you failed the interview. So my recommendation is don't take it personally and focus more on what you can actually control. For example, on things like what do you think you did well and where you think you can improve, and just move on, because a lot of the time it can be many different reasons. Sometimes it might be just the hiring freeze and they lose the headcount, and sometimes they happen to be other unknown reasons. From my experience, I think especially after you finish the final round, the final onsite interviews, quite often it's not that you didn't do well. It can be many other factors. So what I would recommend you is really focus on what's in your control. Reflect what you did well, what you can do even better next time, and move on. Okay, let's see what else we have. Any tips how to get a UX job at Google after gaining some experience? This is also a question that I think came up from multiple people. So I think overall, there are many different paths you can get into Google as a UX designer. Google hire designers at all levels, from new grad to very experienced designers. But overall, as part of the interview process, you will be evaluated from many different angles, from your hard skills, your design craft, but also very important is your soft skills. And quite often I find that's usually where a UX designer actually stands out. It's not only a really good design work, but sometimes, or a lot of times, designers who stand out in the interview process are really showing outstanding soft skills, from communication, strategy, leadership, and culture. I think Google is a company really value designers as a human being. As a UX designer working at Google, I think you will get actually a lot of opportunities to drive and own a project. So which means your everyday job is probably not going to be just implement some features or create some pixel perfect screens. Your everyday job will likely require you to be able to collaborate with other team partners. So overall, I think number one, pay attention to improve your soft skills. And number two, gaining some experience at another reputable companies in the tech industry can be often quite helpful, or help you put into a better position with a proof record to become a UX designer at Google. So the next question we have is, when would you get hire versus no hire at interviews? First of all, so most of the time it's not a yes/no answer, but actually a rating system. So when you demonstrate excellent hard skills and soft skills, not only meeting the basic requirements of a job, but showing qualities that perfectly matching the preferred qualifications, that are usually the chance to get you into hire or strong hire. And especially what I meant by like matching some of the preferred qualifications, pay attention to the job description. You will find sometimes there's often a section talk about preferred qualifications, which the hiring manager will have some message indicating what an ideal candidate might look like for this job position they're hiring for. For example, you might catch some keywords like we're looking for a designer who can own project from end to end, or this team might be working on some e-commerce project. So if you can not only demonstrating you have the great skill qualifications on the UX design side, but also showing some super relatable like past experience. For example, if any of the project experience you have worked are actually from the e-commerce perspective, or in the projects you have most recently worked on, you have always been owning project from end to end, that are usually often the signals can put you into hire or strong hire. We have another question, which is, would new grad pass the resume round without project experience? To be very honest, I think your chance will be very rare. I know it sounds hard because for a new grad, what can I do to pass the first round, the resume round? This is one thing I think I talked in many videos. For anyone, whether you're a new grad or folks who want to transition into UX from a different background, real project experience is always the goal. So it doesn't matter what's your background or you're a new grad or not. From the hiring side, what helps the designer stand out, especially for junior level designers, is do you have some real world experience, and have you actually worked in a real world project environment, working with engineer, working with PM, and working with client. So it doesn't matter if it's a small company or big company, but any type of real project experience is often a key differentiator of candidate at interviews, whether they seem more qualified or well prepared for this job. I would strongly recommend you to think about how to build up your experience, project experience first, and that will help put you into a much better position in getting the first job, even your first internship. Next, let's see, what are some of the biggest challenges you regularly encounter in your UX career, and how have you learned to navigate them? I think there are, to be honest, many different kind of challenges I have had in the past. On top of my mind, I think is probably dealing with conflicts or disagreements, because working at my current role, working at Google, is actually require a lot of cross-functional and cross-org collaboration, which it means a lot of the time the partners I'm working with don't necessarily share the same goals. So disagreement and conflicts can happen a lot. And in terms of how I learned to navigate them, I think this is something I'm still learning. But something that I found might be useful is, I think it's really critical to understand your work partner's goal, where they stand. If they disagree with you, why? And try to understand more about, okay, what are some challenges they are facing? And then you can seek for a common ground. I think it's really important that instead of fighting against and trying to argue and win the debate, I find a better approach is often trying to shift their angle and help them feel that you are actually on the same boat with them. And I think that requires a lot of strategic thinking and collaborations, and also to help you build a trust with your work partners. That's probably the top challenge that I have been having. And if you have any tips or comments on how to deal with conflicts or collaborate with cross-functional partners, feel free to leave me some comments. I would love to hear about it. Okay, the last question we have today is, how can senior designers grow in their career paths? What skill sets should senior designers focus on to continue grow? Great. So I think I have been creating videos a lot of times focusing on how to help folks break into UX or have a good portfolio to get into interviews. Definitely will keep this on my mind so I can share more in the upcoming future videos for folks who have been gaining some experience in this industry, how to continue grow in your career paths. To answer this question, how can senior designers grow in their career paths? I think a key part is probably strategic thinking. And what it means is thinking beyond the product or feature level, but what can you actually impact beyond the near-term value and bring a unique point of view to the table by helping the broader team and even the company at a systematic level to make better decisions. This is something might sound a little abstract, but I think a key differentiator between junior designers versus senior designer is you will focus less on production or implementation, but more on strategy, thinking, roadmap, vision, rather than how we get the next feature launched in the next few months. Think more in a big picture. What are something we should focus on? If the PM has a roadmap or is working with you together trying to define a roadmap for the next year, what do you think the team should focus on? And what are something that you want to challenge? Like maybe this is something that on the roadmap and you don't think this is the best way to spend the resource. Maybe there are other things that we want to bring to the table that can actually help the company achieve its goal from both user side and business side with a more strategic might. So I think that's one thing. I would love to chat more, but I think having a strategic might rather than being driven by urgent stuff, being able to focus on what actually matters most, not only for your career, but also for the team and for the organization, that is a signal that can help a designer grow to the next level. We have answered quite some questions, and I will end my video here today. Again, please feel free to leave me comments. I would love to hear from you and chat more about, what are some top concerns or questions you have in your mind. This is not like a one and done project, and I want to keep it an open dialogue and an ongoing project. So if you have more questions, please feel free to share with me and leave me comments. At the end, I just want to say enjoying a wonderful holiday with your friends and families. So I will see you next year and hope you have a wonderful holiday. Thank you. Bye.